Greetings, my fellow freedom lovers, sovereign thinkers. This is LO3's News Podcast. My name is Craig, transmitting from the beautiful, swampy Mango South Florida. And today's date, Friday, July 20th, 2018. Ooh, man. Is it me or she was flying pretty damn quick? Yeah, I can be very frank. I can see that too. But, yeah, it's hot out there, so I'm at Stash, located at 109 Southwest 2nd Avenue in the heart of the Himmershey District of Fort Lauderdale, adjacent with Revolution Live and America's Backyard. 1920s coffee shop slash den. Like I said, cool little place. Expect the train to come by now and then. I can hear the horn. So bear with me. Yeah, so just scoping around. Of course, people still have that Trump-anxiety. So sometimes when I see the people, some of my pen pals on Facebook, man, they get this Trump-anxiety, treason, TikTok and my effort and all that. I go, my, oh my, oh my. The whole thing with exactly. The alleged, that's the Trump-anxiety train. And everyone's running to the hills and all that good stuff. But one of the things they have to always look at is when the nation first started, they don't want any tangling alliances. Align with none and trade with all. What's wrong with that? Because everyone talked about the whole Russian collision and all that good stuff. Even globalresearch.ca did an article on that last year. There was a total joke and a sham deception in their own words. I listened to the Scott Horton show by Mr. McGovern. He had Mr. McGovern on. Very good episode about the Trump-Putin hysteria, Pearl Harbor, and treason and all that. It's a pretty serious offense when you look at it. I can tell you there's a lot of individuals in Congress that are exercising that particular method, trying to peril the nation. They don't want to see citizens. They want to see the citizens and the natural born persons be dependent on them as a whole. Remember, the Declaration of Independence talks about never trust the government. All you gotta do is read, my friends. Don't listen to these bobbleheads, has-been washed-up hacks, or attorneys that believe they're smarter than you. Always gotta look at the bigger picture. I see all these knuckleheads on these lamestream networks. I don't really say any names because they are. I go to the toilet, I get more inspired than listening to their rhetoric. To me, it's a waste of energy. It's very laughable too. Hey, well, they say so on these networks, even though I suck at physics or civics or geopolitics. I really blow at it, but I have these guys do it for me. Well, that's how that. One of those things you gotta see in a bigger picture. Being a her conformist will get you nowhere. We should be wearing cowbells around our necks and go, I guess I have Trump-anxiety because they say so. Well, nothing new at all. But it is getting too obvious, getting very sloppy as well. If you're going to believe that hype, you just step on your bear trap over and over and over again. You can go, I'm a trapaholic. That's what comes down to it. Well, enough of that. Something here is very interesting to me addressing, and one of my friends sent it on his Facebook page, taking the initiative on looking at it. One of the topics I'll be discussing is going on in South Africa, and you know that the Cape region seceded actually last year, around September 24th, 2017. I did a show on it. I didn't know until a couple of days ago. I'd like to thank, of course, the Public Broadcasting Network for putting that out in South Africa today. And, yeah, it's just interesting here. Of course, everyone's celebrating Nelson Mandela. Why? Trying to figure that one out. Good grief. Yes, I want to support a tyrant that murdered people, regardless of their skin color. All right, well, we'll go right here. It's from Gunpowder Magazine. Came out a few days ago, to be exact. It's called South Africa calls for 300,000 gun owners to turn over their weapons. Yes, leave all your security eggs to us. This is by Jose Nina. It says here South Africa is opening the door for tyranny. The Constitutional Court of South Africa recently ruled that 300,000 gun owners must turn in their firearms. The judgment came in response to the North Ghanaian High Court's ruling in 2017, which said Section 24 and 28 of the Firearm Controls Act were unconstitutional. A report from the Citizen explains what Section 24 and 28 entail. Section 24 of the Act requires that any person who seeks to renew a license must do so 90 days before its expiry date. Section 28 stipulates that if a firearm license has been canceled, the firearm must be disposed of or forfeited to the state. So they can use it to kill their own people, I would say. Of course, it's government. A 60-day time frame was placed on its disposal, which was to be done through a dealer. So, I'm on a license, privilege, government. Could I wipe my rear end? Can I use the bathroom? That's what a privilege is, license. Approved by competent authority. You know what I'm saying? Just one of those things. So I'm going to continue on here. Now that the High Court's initial ruling has been overturned, gun owners who fail to renew their firearms license must hand in their firearms to the nearest police station where authorities then will proceed to destroy them. You really going to buy that? Many naive political observers will paint this event as a casual gun control scheme, but any astute student of politics will recognize that the floodgates were now open for further encroachments. Not only the gun rights of South Africans, but also on others' facets of their lives. A look at South Africa's current political climate will give us an idea for the potential ramifications of this gun control scheme. Political trouble brewing in South Africa. Though South Africa witnessed rising levels of economic freedom shortly after the apartheid ended in 1994. The country has taken over a more interventionist path to economic development in recent years. The situation is becoming more pronounced, with the South African National Assembly recently voting 241 to 83 to amend the South African Constitution for land exploration without compensation. Remember, they're going after the right farmers, but anyone else as well. It's called a domino effect. The socialist-leaning African National Congress and the Economic Freedom Fighters, EFF, parties are leading the charge for exploration under the banner of fixing racial disparities that supposedly remain intact since apartheid's conclusion. Yeah, it's more like the apartheid on steroids, but apartheid revisited. It should be called communist, the commies of the ANC and the EFF. While land confiscation has not been officially finalized, South Africa should worry about the direction the country is going. How does gun control fit into this question? An equation. I say, look at Zimbabwe. Look at that. Look what that dimwit dictator Mugabe did. His name is Douglas Mugabe. I'm not so sure, but Mugabe did the same thing up there. Pillage everyone's farmland, regardless of what they look like. A lot of them were whites, yeah. Many of them blacks, of course. And look what happened. Their economic turn to manure. A gun control tool for tyranny. No matter how socialist apologists rationalize it, the redistributionist agenda of the South African government is pursuing will not be implemented passively. Ultimately, it must be carried out by force. The kind of force socialists seek is a monopolized kind, which extreme forms of gun control like confiscation help facilitate. The history of gun confiscation is one repeated cases of tyranny. From countries such as Cuba to the Soviet Union, aspiring demagogues have used gun confiscation to disarm the populace. Logically, an unarmed populace will put a little resistance against their tyrannical acts. In South Africa's case, farmers and their workers are already suffering ongoing attacks against their property. And it's been going on for a very long time. I would say before the turn of the century. One could only imagine what it will be like for these persecuted farmers once they strip their rights to self-defense. For many Americans who have enjoyed historically unprecedented gun rights, South African gun control experience may seem distant and strange. But make no mistake about it. South Africa's latest flirtation with gun control is not based on good intentions, especially when considering the political climate the country is enduring. South Africa should serve as a fair warning to Americans of the dangerous consequences gun control poses. And of course, you could even, there's a video there, you go to jpfo.org entitled Innocence Betrayed, and you could purchase it. And I've seen it late 2007, and when I show it to people, they don't know what to say. One person, but 5-day waiting period is okay, but he knew one thing. He couldn't really criticize the documentary. But you're going to put his 2 cents in, I'll compromise it. Very disappointing indeed. But when you look at these things, it goes a lot deeper. From aiming genocide, even season disarming the Native Americans for Wounded Knee, even the blacks were in a lot of states, including northern states, weren't allowed to own firearms. We can go there too. We can go on and on and on. Of course, the genocides and democides, many Holocausts. I'm not just saying only what happened in occupied Europe, but Rwanda, Uganda, Turkey, Cambodia, nationalist communist China. Yes, Ken Hai-shek started disarming people in 1935. And plus, look what happened. The country got invaded by Japan, and a lot of people were slaughtered. And even his nationalist government, Ken Hai-shek's regime, slaughtered millions of people. And Mao Tse-tung, when he took over, he kept it. He thanked Ken Hai-shek for that. Yeah, I can't stand you, but I admire you for what you did, disarming the people to become peasants. Ain't that sweet? So, another album, look at the SGA's website. South African gun owners talks about this as well. And it says here, it came out on the 17th. Saga, that's the anchoring. Minister of Police on Radio Jacaranda. Updated regarding expired firearm licenses. Came out on the 17th of July as well. Over the last 2 weeks, there have been various rumors about expired firearm licenses and surrendering the firearms, but to date, no directive has been received from the National Commissioner. There is currently legislation pending. Firstly, brought by the South African Arms and Ammunition Dealers Association, or SAAADA, which application deals with issues relating to dealers and also administrative issues affecting all firearms license holders. And secondly, an application was recently brought on an urgent basis by GOSA, which is GOSA, which is due to be heard the week of July 23rd, 23rd July 2018. I'm going to have to keep tabs on that. GOSA's application deals directly with the consequences of the Constitutional Court judgment and the ability by SAPS, or SAPS, they got a bunch of SAPS, to implement or deal with the 430,000 plus persons with expired firearms licenses. GOSA's application also requested that court grant an interdict against SAPs and the surrendering of firearms. More detail with respect these two applications will be distributed in due course. What has also transpired during last week is that of Monday, July 9th of July 2018, the Minister of Police, Mr. Becky Kelly, stated on Radio Jacaranda that because of logistical reasons, SAPS are unable to implement the Constitutional Court decision, and further that persons which expire firearms licenses do not surrender their firearms to the police as their amnesty is an amnesty pending. The podcast will be made available on our website and Facebook page. SAGA will be addressing the National Commissioner as well as the Minister of Police about the Minister's announcement on the radio, and SAGA will liaise with various members of Parliament with respect of whether amnesty is back on track. Saga is still considering whether or not to take legal action in this respect if any of our members receive any requests, whether written, verbal, or otherwise, from SAPS's surrender their firearms, we would appreciate you if you can immediately contact our offices at saga@saga.org.za, so we can assist where required, as well as utilize the matter for possible further action against the police. We will keep our members updated as matters develop. The SGA Saga Trust. So we're gonna find out probably in the next few days to see what's going on with that. But the minister has actually did that. It was on radio. Yes, it was. I'll look at that later. There's a link for that. You can listen to it for yourselves. One of the areas I always tell folks about government are the most murderous institutions in history. On a genocidal level, 107 million people were murdered by these tyrannical elements. They say around 240 or 50 million was democide. And you got a lot of folks, even in the United States, still believe trusting the government is a great thing. They believe that's a form of patriotism. Building up to the state is honorable. You're with us or you're with the terrorists, what Jorge Bush says after 9/11. Of course, you hear people like Emma Gonzalez and that I call it Trees in This Movement by the CA Corporation, March for Our Lives. You're with us or you're against us. It doesn't work with me. And it shouldn't compel to others. That's one thing I know for sure. When it comes to tyranny, you're going to practice that, you are the enemy. That's right. And all those people that want to call Trump a traitor and you're practicing this, you're the hypocrites. Why? Because it's the damn truth. Prove me wrong if you dare. I know you won't win, because deep down inside, you know I'm right. It's intriguing. Speaking of South Africa, I like the little constitution they have here. Got revived in 2012. I'd like the Constitute Project to look at that. And I like what the preamble said. We, the people of South Africa, recognize the injustices of our past. Honor those who suffer for justice and freedom in our land. Respect those who have worked to build and develop our country, and believe that South Africa belongs to all who live in it, united in our diversity. We, therefore, though our freely elected representatives, adopt this Constitution, supreme law of the Republic, so as to heal the divisions of the past and establish society based on democratic values, social justice, and fundamental human rights. Lay the foundations for a democratic and open society in which government is based on the will of the people, and every citizen is equally protected by law. Improve the quality of life of all citizens and free the potential of each person, and build a united and democratic South Africa, able to take its rightful place as a sovereign state in the family of nations. May God protect our people. And it's interesting about that. I like what it says here, their founding provisions in South Africa. Chapter 1, Section 1, of course, or Article 1, whatever you want to call it. Republic of South Africa. Republic of South Africa is one sovereign democratic state founded on the following values. A. Human dignity, the achievement of equality, and the advancement of human rights and freedoms. B. Non-racialism and non-sexism. C. Supreme of the Constitution and the rule of law. D. D. Universal adult suffrage, a national common voters' roll, regular elections, a multi-party system of democratic government to ensure the accountability, responsiveness, and openness. What the hell happened over there? That's the question. Very hypocritical indeed. What the ANC, members of the ANC and EFF is doing. Now, like it says here on Section 3, about citizenship, there is a common South African citizenship. That's one. Section 2 of that, all citizens are A. equally entitled to the rights, privileges, and benefits of citizenship, and B. equally subject to the duties and responsibilities of citizenship. Alright? Huh. You know how that's going. Oh, of course, right here, Chapter 2, Bill of Rights, Article 7. This Bill of Rights is a cornerstone of democracy in South Africa and enshrines the rights of all people in our country and affirms the democratic values of human dignity, equality, and freedom. 2. The state must respect, protect, and promote the full rights in the Bill of Rights. And 3. The rights in the Bill of Rights are subject limitations contained or referred in Section 36 or elsewhere within the bill. Let's see what I have to say on Section 30. Before I do that, I like to keep on going down here. Equality. Everyone is equally before the law and has the right to equal protection and the benefit of the laws. Ah, really? And of course, right here, one of the areas I like to read. Human dignity. Chapter, I think it's Article 10. Everyone has inherited dignity and the right to have their dignity respected and protected. So, if you're a farmer, your dignity has been exempt. Of course, life. Everyone has the right to life. Yeah, explain me why the innocent people are being slaughtered by the hand of the ANC thugs. And of course, 12. Freedom and security of the person. Everyone has the right to the freedom and security of the person, which includes the right not to be deprived of freedom arbitrarily or without just cause. B. Not to be detained without trial. C. To free all forms of violence from either public or private sources. D. Not to be tortured in any way. And E. Not to be treated or punished in a cruel, inhuman, or degrading way. Like I says here on part 2 of that, everyone has the right to boldly and psychological integrity, which includes the right to make decisions concerning reproduction. B. Secure and control over their body. And C. Not to be subject to medical or scientific experiments without their informed consent. Of course, involuntary servitude is considered illegal in South Africa. For now, right? They're probably doing anything illegal anyway. Privacy. Everyone has a right to privacy, which includes the right to have their personal home searched, their property searched, their possessions seized, or D, the privacy of their communications infringed. That's Article 14 of the Supreme Law. They want to try to change that. Think about it, though. So right there, even owning firearms, okay, they want if you got a license, they want to seize. That contradicts Article 14. So I'm going to keep on going down. They got religious freedom, belief and opinion, of course, the freedom of expression, freedom of association, political rights. They got all that. Citizenship, no citizen may be deprived of citizenship. Freedom of movement and residence. So we can just go on here. Environment, property. Like it says here, Section 20, Article 25, Section 1. No one may be deprived of property except in the terms of general application. And no law may permit arbitrary deprivation of property. And we go through here. And on number 2, the property may be expert only terms of law and general application. A, for public purposes or in the public interest, and subject to compensation, the amount of the time, matter of payment, which have been agreed by those affected or decided or approved by the court. So it looks like they want to alter that and have their non-intimate domain. So, one of those areas you have to really pay attention. And you know what? I think it's 34, right? I think it's 34 if I'm correct. Yeah, let's look at 34 for a moment. There's a lot of hypocrisy what they're doing in that area. So 34, or maybe 35 or 36. One of those two. I'm gonna look at this again. All limitation of rights. The rights. This is Article 36. The rights in the Bill of Rights may be limited only in terms of general application to the extent the limitation is reasonable and justifiable in an open and democratic society based on human dignity, equality, and freedom, and taking all relevant factors including A, the nature of the right, B, the importance of the person of limitation, C, nature and extent of the limitation, D, the relation between the limitation and its purpose, and E, less restrictive to achieve purposes. And it says here, 2, except as provided in subsection 1, any provision of the Constitution, no law may limit any right entrenched in the Bill of Rights. So, owning a firearm is a property right. And now they have to have a license on it. It contradicts the section on Chapter 2 of their supreme law. I'm just wondering how many people in that nation is boldly against it. Oh, I know one thing. You have a few lackeys trying to control everybody. Everyone should revolt against these parasites. Doesn't matter what you look like. Because Mr. Mandela tried to do it before. And they said, come and get it, Trump. See how tough he is. He backed off pretty damn quick. According to one article I read about Charles Van Dyck, when I could be correct. They talked about that in when the time he passed. So one of those areas you got to really look at. And you could probably use a state of emergency as an excuse, but to restore peace and order and all that. So yeah, it's very disturbing. Okay. What's happening over there? That's why I'm gonna add the Constitution in here of South Africa, and you can read it for yourselves and verify. That'd be great. So a lot of things is being trying to fulfill. This is the reason why the Cape region seceded from South Africa. Now their own country is called the Sovereign State of Good Hope, which I do commend, because I did a show on it last time, a couple of days ago. If you give me, check it out. I have the links all there. I have the links. I just did some narrations on a few things that got me interested, and they got tired of it. You see the witch hunting and all that too. So someone asked me on my Facebook page, because a lot of crimes out there, that's where they're doing this, and I have a feeling he may not really know what's going on. So I sent them a link on that, on secession, and I shared him a copy of Innocence Betrayed, which is on archive.org. It's a library, internet library. You can go there too. So I posted this. I posted on it enough times. You just go over there if you want to see it in the library, in the library of sense. Very good documentary. It's not trying to. Can't get angry, but sometimes he is a good person. Some of these people are good folks, but they don't see the bigger picture at times, and something they don't know. It happens to all of us. Hey, I just found out about the Sovereign State of Good Hope a couple of days ago, so I admit that. But I'm not surprised. But I am happy that the Cape region gave the South African government the big middle finger. I think that's fantastic. And they're very, in the way I read, they're very spiritual people. And they want to live in harmony. And they do say what's going on now with the white people being harassed and getting beat up and all that. It's apartheid all over again. And they were absolutely correct. Because what's going to be next? Anyone else that opposes their cause. Nelson Mandela and his wife, one of his wives, was necklacing people. Put a tire filled with gasoline, light it up, if they're against the cause. It doesn't matter what they look like. They don't tell me that Nelson Mandela was a great man. We should celebrate. We should celebrate what he stood for. It's like saying we should celebrate Adolf Hitler's birthday. Yeah, all hell will break loose. Where people will have a cow and a spaz and call you a Nazi. Something to think about, right? When you look at the big, when you take the initiative on looking at the bigger picture of these individuals. That's when it comes to government, my friends. I'm not never lovey-dovey towards them. It's not a matter of hatred, but vigilance. And this is why when I address these particular subjects, it's not to say I'm better than everybody else. That's absurd. But to teach and to share historical elements on here as well. And many of you who are continuing to listen to my show, and I do thank you for that. And you can send your comments, all that as usual. That's all well and good. But I want to be right back, so stay tuned. Alright, that's good for now. Just I do a couple things. There's a human element to be exact. So enough for that from the one title of South Africa. Let's talk about Israel. And it's from blacklistednews.com. And Doug Owen, always enjoy his work, sharing information and all that as well. And as originally came from RT, it says here, Israel passes Jewish-only national self-determination law despite outcry. And that's what he had to say. The Israeli Knesset has approved the national state bill that promotes Jewish-only settlements, downgrades Arab language status, and limits the rights of self-determination to Jews. Arab MPs chided the law as racist. The bill, which has status of basic law, approximately the same as the constitutional law in countries that was written constitution, was passed overnight to a Thursday with 62 votes in favor, 55 against, after hours of fierce argument and debate. Now will come into force as soon as published into the Knesset's official gazette. The law, which has been in the works since 2011, has sparked waves of protest which spilled over the Israeli border and angered the influential Jewish diaspora in the U.S. The bill formally defines the main principles that should stand at the core of the Israeli state and its symbols, such as the flag, the anthem, its capital, and language. And in a clause that set Arab lawmakers off, the bill explicitly states the right to exercise national determination. The state of Israel is unique to the Jewish people. Critics of the bill argue that such word he make some of the 1.8 million Israeli Arabs, a quarter of the population, second-class citizens. Another contentious clause stripped the Arabic language of its official status, instead granting a special status and leaving Hebrew as the only state official state language. Although the bill specifically points out that this clause does not harm the status given into the Arab language before this law came into effect, its opponents have been up in arms over the wording change. At the center of the controversy is a part of the law aimed at promoting the establishment and consolidation of Jewish settlements, which is being cascaded by the opposition as the shorthand segregation bordering on apartheid. The divisive nature of the new legislation that saw thousands of people, including Arabs and secular Jews, flocking the streets in protest. It has not stopped Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu from hailing its adoption as a huge success. But this law was redetermined the founding people of our existence. Israel is a nation, state of the Jewish people, and respect the rights of all of its citizens, Netanyahu said, cited by the Haaretz. As the bill was nearly passed, Arab MPs did not hide their frustration, shredding their drafts to pieces in protest before confronting Netanyahu and storming out of the chamber. You passed an apartheid law, a racist law. MPs Ahmad Tibi and Ayeda Tomo Solomon from the Joint List, a coalition of Arab-dominated parties in the Israeli parliament, shouted to the Israeli leader as he lauded the freshly approved legislation. Netanyahu brushed off all argument that the law prioritizes the rights of Jews at the expense of Arabs, touting the Jewish state as the only democracy in the Middle East. You know what democracy means: majority plus 50% plus one, or 50 plus percent. That's democracy. One vote system, right? But the Jewish community itself has been split about the law before it was adopted. 14 American Jewish organizations relayed their concerns to the coming Jewish Agency chairman Isaac Herzog, who has been a vocal critic of the bill himself. For instance, the New Israel Fund CEO Daniel Scottish called the bill completely incompatible with the Democratic Foundation of the Israeli state. Speaking ahead of the vote, Herzog warned that while fostering the Jewish state, the law might deal a blow to democratic values. I really hope that we won't find the fine balance between the Jewish and the democratic state to be hurt, he said, as cited by Harris. Very interesting indeed. So there's going to be a big controversy on this. And there's some other related material here as well by the Reuters, Middle East Monitor.com, and Mintpress.com as well on this. So there's a lot of friction been going on over there for a long time. And of course, they may get the UN involved because the fact is, Israel is a chartered nation that was approved by the United Nations. So don't be surprised if they will put their 2 cents in on this particular controversial matter. However, we're going to hear one side of this by forward.com, which is Jewish Fearless since 1897. Yeah, sounds like a Zionist kind of website, what I read here. And the interesting what Michael Capello says, for someone to be reading this, what it says here, Zionism is not racist. Israel's nation-state bill shouldn't be either. So we'll have to see what he has to say about this. Michael Capello. The nation-state bill that the Knesset has been debating for the past week became law this week. Since its inception, it's left non-stop controversy in its wake. From the nauseous clause that would have enshrined state-sanctioned discrimination is one of Israel's basic laws, thankfully dropped after a wave of protests both in Israel and abroad. To the language, most straightforward reading negates any role for diaspora Jews in Israel. The effort to definitely enshrine Israel's status as a nation-state of the Jewish people has been anything but smooth. So, and we continue on here. For some, So let's go see what these views have to say. If I'm correct, it's almost the very same thing. Well, I'll definitely look at that and see what you have to say. But that's an interesting little quote. Sometimes you gotta, look at this across the board, right? Absolutely. And of course, there's a lot of links on here as well. Definitely. Let me see one moment. Yeah, interesting. I'm just looking at something here. So I'll continue on here. There's multiple articles on this. Some of you are actually defending it, but however, I'm going to continue reading here. For some, any nod toward nationalism is always going to be objectionable, and no nation-state bill would ever pass muster or be acceptable Knesset legislative outcome. But there is no reason why a Jewish nation-state bill has to be problematic on its face. The problem is not with the idea, but with the execution. For instance, the nation-state bill doesn't sit well because it needs to be based on a vision of ethical nationalism, but it is instead based on an exclusive vision of nationalism that strikes the generally discordant note. Any form of ethical nationalism propagated by a nation-state, in some other words, a nationalism that effectively expresses a collective group identity without being exclusionary in practice to those who do not identify with the group, should meet a few standards. At a basic level, it must be balanced between the concept of a nation and the concept of a state. A nation is based on the idea of a collective identity, but a state is based on defending and representing all of its citizens, irrespective of their identity or ideological commitments. While a nationalism by extension is predicated on making distinctions between groups, a state cannot discriminate based on national identity, but must treat its citizens equally. The distinction that states make is based on national citizenship, not on national identity. And ethical nationalism must also deal with the entire identity group that encompasses, when it transcends, state boundaries. While nationalism is often confined to a defined political community with set borders in other cases, Zionism being the most obvious ones, it encompasses a diaspora community that self-defines by a collective identity that the national movement represents and that supports its objectives and overview. Accommodating everyone with this identity group and managing the tensions between the national identity and state citizenship is a tricky balance, but it's also something that ethical nationalism should strive to accomplish. So I'll continue on here. In the case of Israel's nation-state bill, both of these precepts are being violated. The original clause in the bill that passed the first reading specifically provided for establishment of communities that could discriminate on the basis of religion and ethnicity, took the elevation of national identity above national citizenship to the extreme. Had that element of the bill remained, Israel would not be fulfilling its basic obligation to all of its citizens by treating them equally to the best of its ability. It would have demonstrated nationalism at its ugliest. But the compromise that was reached between Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and the Jewish Home Chairman Naftali Bennett is only marginally better. The new language reads: the state sees developing a Jewish settlement as a national interest and will take steps to encourage and advance this implemented this interest. It is not the same thing as proclaiming Israel as a national homeland of the Jewish people or Israel as a Jewish state. It expressed clearly preference for a Jewish settlement or any other kind of settlement. And how that will be implemented in practice can be gleaned from the disparity that currently exists in state funding of Jewish communities versus Arab communities in the Galilee and the Negev, left alone in the West Bank. If ethnical nationalism strives to foster a group identity while treating all citizens of the state equally, this fails that test. The clause of diaspora Jewry also does nothing to manage the balance between granting rights to Israeli citizens and acknowledging the role for Jews around the world in the Jewish state. Zionism is not only a movement aimed at establishing national homeland for the Jewish people, but also one that aimed to foster a collective Jewish identity and a relationship between the homeland and the Jews who lived outside it. If Israel wants North American Jews to take Zionism seriously and they feel like they have a stake in building the state, has to acknowledge that state exists beyond nebulous emotional reasons. This is how the ethical nationalism deals with the contradictions between transnational movement and the traditional state boundaries. Yet the Israeli nation-state bill, the state will act in a diaspora to maintain a connection between the state and the Jewish people after rejecting the language instead read. The state will act to maintain a connection between the state and the Jewish people, whether they are, is a thinly veiled message to diaspora Jews that Israel's obligation to them to stop at Ben Gurion passport control, that they should not be expected to have the say in any aspect of Israeli affairs, while non-citizens should be excluded from any decision-making or rights in a solely national issues, including issues surrounding Israel's foreign policy and its treatment of Palestinians under military occupation. Israel also has made it clear that it wants to exclude them from issues that are not solely national ones, but universal Jewish ones, like religious pluralism and recognition of different streams of Judaism, by a state that purports to be the homeland for Jews on all stripes. Its ethical nationalism understands the obligation to account for the needs and desires of its adherents. The Knesset nation-state bill does not approach meeting that obligation. Israel is a Jewish state, and there is nothing wrong with proudly declaring that fact. Israel's Jewishness is a manifestation of why it exists and what makes it unique, but that does not absolve Israel of the obligations it has to those who are impacted by the consequences of national Jewish nationalism. If it wants to express that nationalism is the most ethical way, the current nation-state bill fails this test. Interesting little viewpoint there. And of course, there's a lot of controversies as well with Zionism as a whole, because even Hasidic Jews were against Zionism, and I know in the past there was even in the website Jews Against Zionism are like actually two separate movements, religious, and one's a political movement. So you gotta always you gotta look at things in a more differentiated way, and that's how come you gotta always see things on all sides. And a person like myself, and there's a train coming by. Yep, bright line. Haven't been on there yet. I might have to check it out. But they're behaving more on the horn. That's all well and good. Well, yeah, like I said, we have to actually read it, which I should have done in the first place. But you go to Constitute Project and look that up. But not definitely look up the one on the Knesset Gazette, right? Yeah, Knesset Gazette. A little tired, so bear with me. But yeah. So like I said before, that's just one view, and you'll have to expect it to be up in arms in the United Nations. So I wouldn't be surprised. Yep, that's how one areas you gotta seek. All right, do one here. Came from Land Destroyer Report. Came out earlier today by Tony Carlucci from New Eastern Outlook. Twitter bot armies target Thai politics. I talk about Thailand a lot. Well, what's interesting about that on my shows is just a lot of people gotta really see things a lot broader than what they're about. Of course, Thailand is a good political, geopolitical region, and do a lot of controlling in the rest of that continent of Eurasia, or near Eurasia, Southeast Asia. So we'll see what it says here. Twitter bot armies target Thai politics. It appears that the Western-backed opposition Thailand is attempting to create the illusion of popular support online after failing repeatedly to create in the streets of Bangkok, the nation's capital, under suspicious accounts, either clearly bot and sock puppet accounts, or exhibiting suspicious behavior, have begun promoting pro-opposition propaganda in unison After nearly a year of apolitical but equally similar activity, the campaign resembles the manifestation of U.S. government programs immediately aimed at manipulating the public perception through the use of false social media accounts, which are revealed as early as 2011. The U.S. has sought to manipulate social media for years. I'm not surprised at all. Attempting to control what it is and isn't popular is a desire of all involved in the field of marketing and politics. The ability to amplify the perceived popularity of a political idea or party to tap into the bandwagon effect is a temptation most involved in politics are not ethical enough to avoid. During World War II, British operatives regularly manipulate the U.S. public opinion polls to reverse steadfast anti-war sentiments. Today, the U.S. has immediately taken its process of social media where its use, among many others techniques, software solutions like automated bots and multiple sock puppet accounts used by single users to spread pro-American propaganda. Yes, Operation Ajax is one of them that has been declassified by the CIA, 1953. This was revealed as early as March 2011 by The Guardian. An article revealed U.S. spy operation that manipulates social media, which admitted the U.S. military is developing software that will let it secretly manipulate social media sites by using fake online personas to influence internet conversations and spread pro-American propaganda. The article will continue by describing contracts already awarded to companies to procure this technology and by describing the capabilities of such technology. The CENTCOM contract stipulates that each fake online persona must have a convincing background history and supporting details, and that up to 50 U.S.-based controllers should be able to operate false identities from their workstations without fear of being discovered by sophisticated adversaries. And we got a train coming by, so I can hear it right now. It's coming by right now, so let me just hold my breath. The article also admits once developed, the software could allow U.S. service personnel working around the clock in one location to respond to emerging online conversations with any persons of coordinated messages, blog posts, chat room posts, and other interventions. Reminds me of fact-checking Snopes, right? Oh, they'll have discrepancies in these sites. In other words, U.S. seeks to influence public perception by creating false consensus through an avalanche of manufactured content serving U.S. interests. While the Guardian article claimed that the technology would only be used against terrorists, it has become abundantly clear that fake accounts were used during the U.S. engineered Arab Spring and subsequent political military interventions around the globe to stampede government out of power through the illusion of mass uprisings. Yes, synthetic manufactured coup attempts, right? Synthetic coup attempts. Today, such technology is available to political parties, movements, and marketing operations around the globe. Real users can create and manage multiple accounts via such platforms. Other applications allow varying degrees of automation for social media platforms like Twitter and Facebook. Of course, it's so obvious. This will allows single users to manage several dozens, even hundreds of accounts at once, amplifying any desired message from promoting a favorite band during an online competition to manipulate public perception in favor of a political party or movement. Twitter bot armies, as April this year, Western media began to notice and report on the appearance of Twitter accounts appearing across Asia, exhibiting the same characteristics as described by CENTCOM's contract requirements. They appear to be similar, automated, but also appear to use local languages for names and to follow the Twitter accounts of mostly pro-Western media and institutions attempting to influence the news and politics in each respective nation. In TeleCrunch's article, Twitter doesn't care that someone is building a bot army in Southeast Asia, would claim, and what appears to be the regional Twitter bot campaign A flood of suspicious new followers have been reported by users across Southeast Asia and beyond, including Thailand, Myanmar, Cambodia, Hong Kong, China, Taiwan, and Sri Lanka, among other places. While it is true that the new accounts have done nothing well, the fact that a large number of newly created accounts have popped out of nowhere with the aim of following the region's most influential voices should be enough to concern Twitter, especially since this is the Southwest Asia region, a region where Facebook is beset with controversies from its role inciting ethnic hatred in Myanmar to allegedly assisting censors in Vietnam, witnessing users jailed for violating lese majesty in Thailand, and the aiding election of controversial Philippines leader Duterte. Could we say could we say social media cloak and dagger in Southeast Asia? Absolutely. However, but TechCrunch failed to consider was possibly that these bots were not created to assist local governments in defending against Western meddling depicted in the article as censorship and repression, but to aid in further meddling in the region's internal political affairs. Chaos, an notoriously pro-Western newspaper in Thailand, in his article, "Someone's Building a Twitter Bot Army in Thailand," would note, in ones and twos, they trickle in by the minute. New followers in what becomes a familiar rhythm of social media. They have authentic Thai-sounding names such as @fa2012-113 or @dana_foreign _1230. Those that have profile photos look like any face plucked from a Thai social mediaverse. Where it gets weird is that all the new accounts with no followers, and in most cases, no tweets, yet each follows a few dozen accounts representing who? List of online influencers, including journalists, media companies, scholars, and celebs. Some user names are written in Thai script, but all of those have machine-generated strings such as @HGZolo LWLIT Seljuk and @HLRQMI1B71 lowercase TLYKF as account names. The article also noted whether the accounts are machine or human-made, they were locationally aware in each country. In each country, the identities use regional ethnic names, languages, and profile photos to follow local influencers. Again, Kiyosada, like TechCrunch, attempted to flow the idea that these accounts may have been in part of a plot by China or local governments to throw out Western influence and Western-backed organizations and opposition groups in the region, deflecting suspicion away from the West itself. Thailand's Twitter bots. Southeast Asian state of Thailand has been the target of U.S.-backed political destabilization for years. The Thai military ousted U.S. proxy Daskin Shinawatra from office in 2006 and his sister Yingluck Shinawatra in 2014 by military coups. The U.S. mobilized political lobbyists, media campaigns, and has funded a group army of Falks non-governmental organizations, or NGOs, to place pressure on the current Thai government in a return of Shinawatra and his proxies to power. That's why the United States should never be involved in tangling alliances. Recent efforts to trigger street protests have failed, however, despite extensive foreign backing and support through the Western media and their collaborators within Thailand. Protests have failed to attract any support. Even attempts by the Western media to misinform global audiences about the size of the protest is not possible, as photos reveal only handfuls of protesters, vastly outnumbered by both police and media. Perhaps in an attempt to create in cyberspace the illusion of support, the Western-backed opposition clearly lacks in the streets. Twitter bots with many of the same characteristics described by both the 2011 U.S. CENTCOM contract requirements and by both TechCrunch and Kiyosada's April 2018 reports have begun a campaign to build support for anti-government protests online. The Twitter accounts vary, some appearing to be automated bots, while others appear to be semi-automated sock puppet accounts. Many have been clearly created for a specific purpose of supporting the Western-backed opposition hashtag of choice, TeknoAXE. The most appear to have created during 2017. They follow primarily Korean pop music accounts, in most cases no political views or news content providers. Yet despite the absolute lack of political or news content on the timeline stretching back almost a year, most of these accounts have begun obsessively and exclusively retweeting any post with the TH Want Election hashtag. Those oppose the Western-backed opposition posting any opposition content, but including TH Want Election hashtag, are also mindlessly retweeted by this army of bots and sock puppet accounts alongside pro-opposition content. Another indicator of an automated large-scale effort to manipulate public perception, despite TechCrunch, KSI, and other U.S. media and government interests in Thailand having noted an uptick of bot activity just last month. None are mentioning the suspicions, and in some cases obviously automated activity, fueling the pro-opposition campaign online now. While some of the accounts may represent genuine users who support the opposition, many clearly aren't real. Twitter makes it possible to check accounts for actual tweets posted by accounts, as well as replies on the platform to other users. In most cases, these accounts are absent of any human interaction for at least this entire last month. It will be difficult, if impossible, to ultimately assign responsibility for this concerted effort to manipulate public perception in Thailand, since these tools could have been acquired and controlled by a variety of interests, including individuals. The accounts mentioned by TechCrunch and KSI did not appear linked to the current operation in Thailand at this moment. Had they been because the regional scale of the initial appearance of the aforementioned bots and now the demonstrated pro-U.S. of the Thai-based bot, it might still implicate U.S. state-sponsored meddling. The U.S. Western media based in Southeast Asia has proven itself to be overly biased in favor of Western-backed opposition groups as an interest in creating news on behalf of the opposition, as they are in spinning and distorting actual news in their favor. It's likely that any extensive manipulation of social media affairs of the opposition would be reported on. Similar campaign may be aimed at the opposition or a counter campaign launch against current manipulation. It is likely the public will finally learn of these recent events. Considering that large-scale social media manipulation preceded U.S.-backed regime change across the Middle East, North Africa, and Eastern Europe, nations in Southeast Asia must take particular note of upticks in such activity. The best defense against such activities is informing the public of this tactic, so they can be to identify and recognize it as a concerted effort to deceive and manipulate the public. Possessing a professional and effective international language media platform like RT, Press TV, Telesur, or CGTN would also make it possible to raise awareness of this tactic, thus blunting its effectiveness. So it is very intriguing indeed on what is happening over there. It's typical high-tech cloak and dagger. And that's why you're going to always have to see things a lot broader than what it is. In addition, even the Western nations can get these bots as well. Manipulation and con games and all that. Look at the Trump-Putin hysteria. Trump's anxiety at its finest. People are like, manifesting, like a bunch of zombies. So it's one of the areas you have to really be strategic on. Don't fall for this hoopla and hype and even these little gadgets. And I see this a good amount of times myself, and I basically ignore them, observe, and see right through them. Remember, this is a cloak and dagger world when it comes to the hype, when it comes to social media, etc. That's why I always tell all my listeners, observe responsibly and try to verify much as possible. When you do that, you're ahead of the game. But if you exercise it, it's half the battle. I don't know everything either, but I'm not going to fall for everything I read on Twitter and social media sites. Doesn't matter where it's at. But one thing I got to do for sure, I could say that the CIA and other organizations trying to dictate to others and how to live and think. That's the people's decision. So whatever you do, don't fall for it completely. Once again, examine everything responsibly. And that's, you'll thank yourself later on. I'm going to take a little breather once again. I want to play a little tune by a gentleman named Chris Geo. And it's called Sheep's Eyes. It's like a remix version. 2016 version of the song. And like I said, you can go to truthfrequency.com or Truth Frequency Radio. Just type that in. He has plenty of shows. Very good. Him and I Facebook pen pals. So always admired his work when I have a chance to check it out. So it's a song called Sheep Eyes. And I'll be right back.
Take a look at this fucked up world around me. What do I see? Nothing but hopeless insanity, tragedy, vanity, seeking zombies, running in circles just to please the queen bee, jumping hurdle to hurdle with the eyes of a blind man and the mouth of a mute, living hearing impaired. When it comes to the truth, they just sit there and stare like I'm missing a tooth, like I'm missing a screw, or I got something loose. Man, I'm losing my mind. Maybe I'm the one that's fucked up, stuck out of luck. I should've never woke up. You know I'd hit self-destruct if I could swallow my pride. If I go back to sleep, I'd hang myself with my tie. So I'm gripping this mic and fighting this fight, exposing the darkness just to save my own life. Go on and say what you like, cause I really don't give a fuck. Give a fuck, give a fuck, give a fuck. I'm depressed, I'm speechless, I'm drowning in the deep end. I'm not happy anymore, I'm not happy anymore. You broke my heart into itty bitty pieces. Depressed, I'm speechless, I'm drowning in the deep end. I'm not happy anymore, I'm not happy anymore. You broke my heart into itty bitty pieces. Every time I step up, I'm taking 2 steps back. And in fact, I sink from gray to the darkest of black. I won't lead you astray, I'll just show you the facts. But they might lead you to stress, death, and heart attacks. So you hate me and curse me, rape and traverse me, ignore every verse and use the chorus against me. With logic perverse, you grow to detest me. Test me and drain me till I'm running on empty. My soul's drenched in darkness from fighting the heartless. My tactics turn ruthless when engaging the truthless. God damn my fate, becoming everything I hate. Everything I hate, everything I hate, everything I hate. I'm depressed, I'm speechless, I'm drowning in the deep end. I'm not happy anymore, I'm not happy anymore. Itty bitty pieces, depressed, I'm speechless, I'm drowning in the deep end. I'm not happy staying in it to win it, but I know not why. I survived suicide, but I was buried alive. She told me get on my knees when I reached for the sky. She said a mental disease had infected my mind. Am I blind or can I see? Am I a slave or am I free? I'm a soldier of truth, it's just the nature of the beast. So my efforts increase till the day I'm deceased. If I fall to my knees, how will my spirit rest in peace? I'm depressed, I'm speechless, I'm drowning in the deep end. I'm not happy anymore, no, not happy anymore. You broke my heart into itty bitty pieces. Depressed, I'm speechless, I'm drowning in the deep end. I'm not happy anymore, no, not happy anymore. You broke my heart into itty bitty pieces.
Alright, that was Chris Gio doing Sheep Eyes, 2016 mix. Yes, it has some vulgar language on it, but it's good tune to get people to think, wake up, and don't follow the hoopla, get caught in the propaganda matrix and all that. I think the reason why I add that song to the show is the whole Trump hysteria thing, Trump Putin hysteria, thing called Trumpziety, and new social disorder, right? Anything he does, someone's gonna spaz out, steam will be coming out of his ears. If he farts, someone's gonna wig out. It's a shame, for sure. So that's why I'm always, on my show, if I'm critical towards them, I'll have merits to back it up with facts, not anything he says. So, but the whole truth of the matter is, if you think you're going to impeach him or get him for treason and all that, you don't even know. Folks, you really got to know what treason really means. Helping aiding the enemy. And a lot of folks are really good at that. And those are the people you actually worship. I was talking about the ones who will follow the mainstream ordeal. They're the folks that think Hillary Clinton's the best thing since sliced bread. People still trying to defend her. Oh, she does no harm. Her husband's awesome too, because Rolling Stone magazine says so. I know Rolling Stone magazine in the past talked about Bill Clinton. I don't know about Hillary, but a lot of women that are Democrats, they cannot stand that woman because she got exposed, which I'm not surprised. I see right through these individuals, even 25 years ago. And I know I'm digressing. 26 years ago, I was never impressed by her. Forgive me on that little rant. Interesting. Okay, well, hopefully I didn't screw up. Well, hopefully I didn't screw up here. But, alright, keep me on Facebook, Twitter, Google+, Spreaker, iHeartRadio, Tumblr, YouTube, FreedomsNetwork, Minds.com, Patreon.com. If you want to be a donor, it'd be great. /3, gab@gab.ai, yours.org, oneway.com, or buddylist.co. In addition, you can email me at lookalookunumber3@gmail.com, or to Cryptic Ones, your full-time mail account, lookalookunumber03@fulltimemail.com. Ooh, okay, my friends. Once again, thank you for your time. But always remember that the mighty act of resistance, I think the soul can liberate humanity. Until next time, take care of yourselves. Keep on spreading love. And may your guardian spirits be with you.